So a popular trope in media are the specialized schools where kids study to become heroes. Think UA High School from MHA and Sky High from Sky High. We all know the concept. Another popular thing in media is the idea of delinquent schools, filled with troublemakers and violent criminals, and all the students are naughty, essentially. Mix them together in a fancy hero setting filled with superpowers, magic, mythical creatures, and experiments and aliens, and, well, it'd basically be a villain school, right? I love superhero-type stories, specifically the world-building implications and how they even go about their daily lives. I love when stories explore things like people suffering because of the powers they have, whether that be because of the consequences those powers have on their bodies or because of what people say about them. This is what led me to the creation of one particular story, the Oubaitori Institute. It's still a work in progress, mind you. I'm still working on the plot, so I'll be focusing more on the characters this video, but even they could change a lot by the time I actually finish this. The Oubaitori Institute for Troubled Youth is often referred to as the school for villains. It's where all the troubled children are sent. Troublemakers, delinquents, criminals, and full-on devil children are placed into this school. At least that's what they say. They say the school was meant for villain prevention. The kids are rowdy, they get into fights, they steal and yell and aren't exactly the most respectful, but I wouldn't call them full-on gangsters like most people say they are. Sure, they'll fight and make their own groups, but no one's going to kill each other or bring grudges outside of school. There's small unspoken rules like that, and no one likes it when they're broken. Oubaitori is a Japanese philosophy about recognizing that each person, like each tree, blossoms in their own time, which I thought fit for a school full of kids who are being judged, looked down upon, and misunderstood. It's also noted that these kids are known to dislike heroes. So it's honestly a wonder how our main character even ended up here. Brooke Valiant is the youngest of a long hero legacy. Her parents are both top heroes and her siblings are rising stars in the hero world. She herself has been training since she was a kid and was a student at one of the best hero schools in the country, Hercules Academy. She's been told her whole life that she was going to be a hero, just like her family. Issue is, she doesn't want to be one. Brooke isn't exactly interested in hero work. She doesn't hate heroes, she thinks they're very honorable, but she doesn't want to be one. She doesn't exactly care about being a hero, but she also has never been outwardly rebelling against the idea because everyone already decided this was what everyone was telling her she was meant to do. This was her duty, so she followed along. The students of Hercules Academy are all very determined and competitive. Brooke simply isn't any of those things. So people started saying she's relying on family connections to get a start in the industry since she never tries in class, and she's ranked pretty much just straight in the middle. Enough to pass, but nothing special. She supposes they're right, but it's not because she wants to. Her parents just already decided this was her path. Though the rumors started mainly because people don't really like her. Everybody finds her creepy. Appearance-wise, she's already pretty creepy. Brooke is half-owl hybrid from her dad's side, though she is the least owl-looking of all her siblings. She's also the shortest of her siblings, at 7 feet tall. She's also got those pure black eyes that owls have, which doesn't exactly help her tendency to stare. You see, Brooke doesn't really understand people. Socializing and emotions aren't things she's very good with. People often call her rude or robotic because of it. She does want to understand people, but people don't explain it to her, just expect her to get it, which is dumb. So she's taken to try and study them on her own. She watches people around her and tries to figure them out like puzzles, figuring out patterns in behavior or movement or speech patterns or cues or something to make it make sense. From there, she developed a love of studying people, especially people's powers. She loves studying people's powers. It's all she's ever really interested in. She wants to study how they use it, how they could use it better, how it affects their bodies, the weak points it leaves open. Oh, she loves studying this stuff. Her notebooks are filled with photos and notes and analysis. Oh, it's her favorite thing in the whole world to do. But most people find it creepy how much she knows. Probably because she has a habit of making it known how much she knows and people end up thinking she's plotting to kill them. Brooke doesn't really get it. I guess the best example I have of this is Laios from Dungeon Meshi when he's talking about monsters. Yeah, not the most comfortable thing for someone to know someone knows, especially not the tall, creepy owl girl. But there was one exception. Iris Tinge, her best and only friend at school. Top student, determined to become a hero. She was the top fighter, top of the ranks. Everyone respected her. Straight A's, straight hair, straightforward, if you will. She has the power to turn the colors of the world around her into energy or weapons. She was the only person who ever spent time with Brooke and listened to all of her rants and studies with interest, though Brooke didn't know that Iris was only doing it because she knew Brooke was scary smart. And her studies on people's powers also included very accurate analysis about people's fighting styles and weak points, and she would need to know that if she wanted to stay on top. Iris also was always annoyed that Brooke was genuinely very skilled, maybe even more than Iris, and the only reason she wasn't a top ranker was because she didn't care enough. Well, didn't care at all. It may have upset Iris, but it did always mean she would stay on top, even if she could never beat Brooke in a spar. Now, before this particular day, Iris had begun avoiding Brooke and seemed angry every time Brooke even tried talking to her. Brooke had no idea what she did wrong, and she was starting to freak out. She thinks it might have something to do with a certain thing that had happened. So, how do I put this? Iris was the little Miss Perfect, and Brooke was the girl she almost kissed. Now, during a patrol route with their teacher, the street seemed calm, so Brooke tried really hard to talk to Iris. Iris was her only friend, the only person in the world who ever willingly spent time with her, so Brooke was desperate to not lose her. I mean, yeah, she felt the same way and felt rejected, but she'd be okay if they weren't like that. She'd be happy just being friends. But then it somehow spiraled into an argument where Iris was just full on yelling at Brooke, basically projecting all of her feelings onto this poor girl who was struggling to understand, just loathing about how Brooke is skilled and better and just didn't care, how she never cares about anything, how she's weird and stupid and dense and creepy. Brooke just stood there and took it as she realized that her only friend, the only person she thought cared, just thought the same things of her as everybody else. It was this revelation that made Brooke notice something a little too late. Brooke's power is that she can essentially send out her vision like a camera drone despite not even moving her body anywhere. It will leave her blind to all near her, but she can see anything from anywhere else. She can also swap POVs from someone, so they see through her eyes and she sees through theirs. Because of how her powers literally leave her vulnerable, she's trained to become very hyper-aware of her surroundings without seeing anything. She even has crazy good reflexes. But even then, she noticed the attacker far too late. Brooke and Iris get attacked. Iris gets knocked out and Brooke has to carry her out while they're surrounded. Their teacher, who had left them alone earlier and just returned hearing the attack happening, tries to deal with the villains, but it gets messy. She might have been targeted for being a top hero's daughter, but she isn't sure yet. The whole confrontation ends in destruction, fire, the hero meant to protect them being knocked out, and Brooke losing an eye. Brooke, as the only one awake and left at the scene, gets fire from all of the media for the whole thing. In the mess, the Academy decides to send Brooke to the Oubaitori Institute while they deal with things, which leads Brooke to where she is. Due to how publicized the incident was, every kid at the OB knows who Brooke is and stay the hell away. Brooke doesn't mind. She's used to people avoiding her. Iris isn't talking to her anymore, and her family, though they've never spoken to her much in the first place, are speaking to her even less. All her parents said was that they'd get her out of this. Brooke is left to do what she does in any new and uncomfortable situation. She tries to study and understand it. I mean, this is the school filled with the dangerous children. Oh, their powers are fascinating and they are way more interesting than Hercules Academy kids. They're more rough and willing to play dirty and yell and cuss and more than whatever those rule-following tough students who cared more about rankings and applications or whatever. Brooke doesn't care. This is fun, even if they all look at her like she's a creep. But whatever, she doesn't mind. Never has. Brooke is a really fun character to play around with because she never expresses anything and treats everything with like 100% seriousness. She's meant to be someone with undiagnosed autism and someone who's been told her whole life what she was going to do and what she was going to be and just followed along without complaint. Brooke's morals are also an interesting thing to play with because she isn't a good or bad person. She splits good and bad into is it for my duty or against it? duty as a friend, family, student, daughter, whatever. She's also someone who heavily values practicality and convenience. If she thinks punching you is the most practical way to solve a situation, she will do it. This is a girl who is rich and willing enough to bribe a cop if she deems it the most reasonable action. She's also socially inept, which is also really fun to write about. Brooke may not be the best with feelings, but she is very good at pattern recognition and behavior analysis, along with power analysis. So she does notice how one particular person seems more frightened of her for a completely different reason than the other students. It's really strange that it's her own roommate, though. Erin Foilsich is another interesting student at the Institute because of how much she desperately does not want to be here. She's jumpy, terrified, worried about everything, and scared of everything. She is, after all, compared to everyone else, a normal person, a regular civilian now surrounded by crazy people. And all she's got with her is her robots and a never-ending backpack she got from her parents. Now, Erin is where we lean into the fact that this school has students sent here for villain prevention. Erin Foilsich, or if we want to use her real name, Eloise Kame, is the daughter of two notorious villains in the city, known arms dealers, scientists, and terrorists, Dr. Hazard and Madcap. And Erin did not know that. She was a regular person, regular life. Sure, no one was friends with her and she'd rather talk to robots than people, but she had loving parents and a warm bed and everything was okay. Until one day, heroes and police came knocking at her door, searching for her parents. Apparently, they were cornered and had gone on the run, and the cops were worried that they may come back to grab their daughter. So Erin is in witness protection alongside her aunt and was sent to the Institute as the security there is surprisingly better than in normal schools. Her life was basically flipped upside down and she was just meant to go along with it. One day she was with her happy family and everything was okay, and the next she's in a completely different city with her aunt under completely different names, attending a school full of crazy people, and her parents are villains. Her parents are villains. She's still not over that part yet. Society isn't the kindest to people who are related to villains. Erin is processing the fact the world is going to hate her if this secret gets out. And to top it all off, oh my god, her new roommate was a hero student. So, to put it lightly, Erin is terrified of Brooke when they first meet, much to Brooke's confusion. Erin decides that the best solution is to avoid Brooke as much as possible when at school, even if they're roommates, and obviously she's going to run into Brooke because they sit next to each other in class, but truly this will work out. Although, the girl is scary tall and stares and probably knows everything. Oh my gosh, does she know what happened? That would be really bad. Look, Erin can admit the solution is really stupid, but it's all she has in this moment. But things take a turn when Brooke inadvertently saves her from a bully. Erin's used to being picked on. It hurts, but she's used to it. And turns out it's no different here at the OB. She's being picked on by some douche at the lockers when Brooke approaches the both of them. She stares for a bit before asking Erin if she would like any help. Erin freaks out at first and says no. So Brooke shrugs before asking the boy bothering Erin to move as he's in front of her locker. The douche scoffs and turns his annoyance towards Brooke instead. Brooke frankly does not care, other than the fact that he's in her way. He starts a fight. Brooke doesn't want to because that sounds pointless. He gets mad, swings, only to get his ass handed to him. Brooke has been training since childhood and was a hero student. She knows how to fight. Erin is stunned as Brooke just casually grabs her book from her locker and leaves like nothing happened. So Erin makes a split decision. She chases after Brooke and begs her to let her stay near her so that people don't bother her. Much to Erin's surprise, Brooke agrees. No discussion needed. It's practical, she says. She promises she won't let anyone bother Erin if that's what she wants. It is what Erin wants, and so a friendship begins. Brooke and Erin are both socially awkward nerds in completely different ways. They both suck at socializing, but Erin is at least self-aware of this fact. Brooke, meanwhile, will just say whatever it is she wants, with absolute confidence that it was the right thing to say when in no way was even close. Erin ends up being a cue for Brooke to apologize, because Erin will always apologize first. These two take turns ranting to each other about whatever it is that caught their attention that day, from Brooke's studies and observations to Erin's latest inventions. Erin's pride and joy, a robot who lives in her bag, is named BP, and loves Brooke just as much as he loves Erin. Erin is crazy smart and a little bit insane. She used to spend all her time in the garage building stuff. One of her inventions is a literal laser gun that runs on AA batteries. And BP can function like Doc Ock's legs. She just wanted to see if she could do it. Erin is terrified of everything, however, while Brooke seemingly fears nothing. They balance out very well. Erin is desperate to keep Brooke's reckless behavior from killing them. Brooke will fight anyone who bothers Erin. Brooke would gladly kill for Erin, but Erin would cry, so Brooke won't do that. Erin ends up instinctively hiding or clinging to Brooke whenever she's frightened. Now, the arrangement starts working pretty well. As their friendship grows, no one bothers Brooke after she took down a supposedly strong student without breaking a sweat. Therefore, no one bothers Erin. That is until someone comes along to bring trouble. In this type of media or stories, it's common for there to be rankings of like the most popular people, the most strongest, the most dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to put something similar in the Oubaitori Institute. But instead of it being a genuine ranking, it's more of an inside joke between the students. The top 5, or the Oubaitori Institute's most notorious, are the 5 students who have ended up here with incidents that have ended up on national news. One of these students, number 3 specifically, is Penelope Attenelle. Penelope is someone who's loud, dramatic, flashy, turns bullets into bubbles and turns the hallway into a skating rink. She's a troublemaker. Everyone's heard of her at least once. If not through rumors, then by her loud-ass voice. Though the most notable part of her reputation is the fact she used to be a villain. One part of a notorious gang at that. People fear her and avoid her like the damn plague. Apparently, when she first got to the school, some people tried picking fights with her, and she beat them all up before tying them above the school's theater using a street sign. All before she started pouting about how it was so boring here. Penelope has the power of matter manipulation. She can change the properties of things like the colors or the textures or the fragility or the strength. She can change the material something is made out of. And she can full on change objects into other things because why the hell not? She uses it to change the colors of her clothes and makeup or to turn the weapons aimed at her into salt. The only caveat of the power is the source. Not energy or blood, but attention. The amount of attention on her dictates her limits and energy and strength when it comes to her powers. But she doesn't tell anyone that fact. That would be so boring. Brooke becomes determined, though. When Penelope first approaches Brooke, Erin immediately goes and hides behind her friend, scared. Penelope just starts whining about how Brooke knocked out her best fighter. See, Penelope could beat anybody's ass. But that's not fun. So instead, she started a fight club, where the winner takes the money and the people can bet. That's way more interesting. They even say her little lackey of a friend, more on him later, is the club's top fighter. So Brooke offers to take his place, which catches Penny off guard. Like, yes, that's what you wanted and came here for, but she had a speech. She quickly gives Brooke the rundown with a laugh, and Brooke is so interesting. But the second Brooke and Erin are gone, she immediately starts complaining to her best friend because, Callum, I had a whole thing prepared. So annoying. Why'd you have to agree so fast? Don't you laugh at me. You're always so mean to me. I have a reputation, you know. So Brooke joins the fight club, and as time goes on, Penelope ends up another friend of hers. But there is another thing. See, Penelope does nothing that doesn't interest her. And Brooke Valiant sure is interesting. I mean, a hero student who got herself sent to the Oubaitori Institute. My. Not to mention that Brooke's weird and Penelope is entertained every time they talk. She's cute too, so there's that. But Penelope seems to have Brooke's attention all the time, which is also really nice for her. Penelope is amazing at self-control and reading people, despite being impossible to read herself. Part of her design is those permanently closed eyes and a permanent smile. Brooke, however, somehow seems to get Penelope. Somehow just understands her and her feelings and always goes along with whatever Penelope does because she just trusts her like that. Penelope doesn't like that. Brooke starts watching Penelope because she owes Penelope for the inconvenience she caused and because she wants to figure out Penelope's powers. But then it's because they're friends. And, well, Penelope watches Brooke because she doesn't get it. Penelope was part of a villain gang, the leader's apprentice. Blood Moon's little sidekick. A kid the gang took pity on and then raised themselves. Before all this, Penelope's name was different. Melpomene Rose. She had a twin sister named Talia. Identical twins with only one being born with powers. Melpomene and Talia Rose grew up in a circus. No one ever told them how they got there, but this was where they lived. They were raised by all of the performers. Melpomene was the magician's assistant. Talia was one of the clowns. The circus wasn't doing well. They were losing money. And then Talia had gotten sick, and it was really bad. They didn't have the money to get her the help she needed. Melpomene was desperately trying anything to get enough money, thinking maybe if she could just draw in a bigger crowd, they'd make enough to help. More tickets sold meant more money, and then Talia could get a doctor. But she never made enough, and Talia died, leaving Melpomene alone. While Melpomene was grieving, a gang that the ringmaster was apparently borrowing money from had paid the crew a visit, demanding the pay. The ringmaster paid all he could, but it was enough. The gang showed him one last shred of mercy. But he had better have the money the next time they come by. Even then, the ringmaster asked them for one small, simple favor. Take the kid with you. We can't take care of her. We already failed her sister. We can't fail her. Give her to a nice family, please. We'd get into deep trouble if we took her ourselves, but please. The gang's leader curiously poked her head into the room Melpomene was in, and found herself stabbed by a small child who turned a prop knife real, and decided to allow the ringmaster's request, and proceeded to take the child in herself. The cast-off gang, they call themselves. She stayed with them for years. A family. Blood Moon, real name Calliope, was practically her mom. Melpomene became White Rabbit, the sidekick, the distraction, their little villain in the making. They weren't perfect. They were still villains and were bringing her along into the business and didn't give a damn about anyone who wasn't in the top inner circle. But they cared about her, or at least she thought they did. She was 14 when the gang finally got cornered. Many captured while the others scattered. She was one of the members captured. And in the court, they all denounced her and claimed they only took her in because she was useful. She was powerful and grieving and only needed a nudge in the right direction. It was a plan the gang all agreed on beforehand, one they'd never told Rabbit about. The court would go easier on a poor, manipulated child. So they leaned into that, made her a pity case. Even if it left her feeling abandoned in the end, this was for the best. And so Melpomene ended up at the Institute, the oldest of the principal's foster kids, the Oubaitori Institute's resident troublemaker. She changed her name after all of that. She didn't want any memory of them. Penelope has a deep fear of being used. She is terrified of being used and abandoned after what happened. So when she realized people were scared of her and she had some sort of reputation built up, she leaned into it. If they stayed away, she couldn't be hurt. They'll keep watching her, but she won't be used and she can't be left behind again. Callum is the only one she's ever truly let close after everything, but we'll touch on their story later. But essentially, Penelope likes feeling that she has some sort of upper hand, or she can feel the other person's intentions. If she knows what they want, then she can't be taken advantage of. At first, she felt like she had this with Brooke, but then Brooke just started hanging around her for no reason. Not for powers or promises or anything. The crazy bird just said she liked her company. But that doesn't make sense. People don't like Penelope like that. Everybody's scared of her, or at least they find her annoying. So why does Brooke stay? That doesn't make sense. Brooke just believes they're friends because Penny isn't outcasting her and seems to enjoy her company, which she does. Penny likes hanging around Brooke. Brooke is one of the most understanding and funniest people she's ever met. But Penny doesn't like this. Well, Brooke wants to understand her powers, right? Well, if she never figures out Penny's, then Brooke has no reason to leave her, right? She can't. Penny doesn't get it yet. Callum says she's being stupid. But what does stupid calcite know anyway? Callum Yang is Penelope's best friend and partner in crime. They say he helps her run the fighting club and is one of the best fighters there. They call him her lackey and say that he's indebted to her or he's being blackmailed. They also say he's freaky to look at. He is one of the most visually interesting students, and the character who takes the longest to make out of every single person in this cast. Not draw, no. Make. When he was a kid, Callum had gotten into a freak accident involving some strange villain's machine. He was saved from possible death by a hero, but his body was changed. Well, people thought it was changed. Callum has the power to manipulate perception. He can, of course, create illusions, but he can also manipulate what you hear, smell, what you feel against your skin. He can make people feel hot when it's freezing cold, or feel pain that hasn't even occurred. However, he hasn't fully mastered his powers just yet. So when people see him, he looks really weird. He looks like a walking collage of colors and photos and whatnot. Hence why he takes the longest to create. It's not what he actually looks like, though. If you see him through cameras, photos, or mirrors, he's just a boring-looking guy. For his whole life, Callum has always loved and looked up to heroes. He always thought they were just the coolest. But that day, when the hero saved his life, that was the day he decided he wanted to become one. He wanted to do good and help people just like that hero did for him. And he just got these cool powers, so the goal was in reach, surely. But due to the way it altered his appearance, people started treating him harshly. Bullying started up when he came back to school, and it had gotten so bad one day that Callum just snapped. His powers went out of control, and he essentially trapped his whole school in a mass hallucination. Hence, the Oubaitori Institute. Callum is someone with a strong sense of justice. He has very strong opinions on what is and isn't right, and if something isn't right, he gets angry. He tends to let his emotions and his heart lead the way, leading him to being impulsive and picking fights when he shouldn't be, which wasn't the best thing when he was at a school full of kids just looking for trouble. He ended up picking a fight he couldn't win and was getting his ass beat when he got saved by a laughing maniac in pink. She beat up all the assholes, turned to him, and proceeded to laugh at him for getting beat up. And what? What was he supposed to do? Not cuss her out? From there began their very odd friendship. Penelope knows Callum wants to be a hero, but isn't quite strong enough yet, especially not to face those hero college exams. So Penelope offers some help, if you will. He can help her out in the little fight club she's starting, and he'll get to practice with some kids who will for sure play dirty. She'll help him become a hero. He just has to stick with her. Callum and Penelope's friendship is very different from that of Erin and Brooke. Erin and Brooke enjoy comfortable silences. Erin will always cling to Brooke when she's scared, and they're very soft with one another. However, on the other side, Penelope hardly ever uses Callum's name, instead using a various bunch of words that just start with Cal, and Callum refers to her as the demon sent from hell to torment him. And they will absolutely say vile things to each other and call it affection. There's this scene I picture in my head where Penelope goes, Callum, you should treat a woman with more respect, and Callum responds with, I respect women, I just don't respect you. Callum is the only one who is always bitchy to Penelope and calls her an idiot despite the fact he always gets dragged into her bullshit. Willingly. Callum is also fully aware of how Penelope rationalizes this friendship in her head. Penelope is afraid of being used and left behind. She wants to have the upper hand to feel like she can't be used. So Penelope rationalizes that she was the one to make the offer to Callum, and Callum is just using her to get to his dream, but it will be a long time before then, so he can't leave her just yet. She wants Callum to stay, and he needs her, so he won't leave. This is not at all how Callum sees this friendship. He genuinely cares about her and wants to be around her, but he doesn't know how to dissuade her from these thoughts. All he can do at the moment is just stick around her more. Callum has always been good with feelings, but never words. Penelope has always been amazing with people. She knows how to get what she wants and how to read people for it. But Callum's always been better at judging people's character and understanding people's feelings and empathy. He thinks with his heart. He's the kind of guy who wants to do good simply because people deserve that. Sure, he's stuck here right now and he's picking fights and getting his shit rocked, but he thinks he's doing okay. He thought Brooke was just one of Penelope's weird whims again, but he and Brooke have a more quiet friendship where they just exist in comfortable silence. Brooke seems to appreciate his opinion on things, which is odd to him since he sucks at explaining things, but it makes her happy. That's enough. Callum is an artist. He sucks with words, so he lets his drawings and paintings express himself for him. His life is weird, but he'll figure it out. These four are the main group the story of the Oubaitori Institute follows. I'm still working on the plot, but the story isn't really about the end of the world dangers or huge wars, and more about the kids themselves. Brooke is a character who has always desperately wanted to be accepted, but never succeeded. But she finds herself a family among a bunch of freaks and outcasts. It just takes some time. The four's dynamic is really fun to work around since Brooke will somehow find herself in a problem. Penelope will jump into it for the hell of it. Erin chases after them trying to stop them, and Callum just sighs and accepts his life and follows. Erin is the only one who can't fight. Once again, she's a regular civilian, and not before later down the line where she weaponizes BP more, Doc Ock style. So the other three are very protective of her. If you fuck with Erin, you will get your shit rocked. Despite that, Penny and Callum seem to get a kick out of freaking her out. Erin will just be hiding behind Brooke on the verge of breaking down as Pen and Cal egg her on. Brooke tries to help, but somehow makes it worse. Brooke is also really funny in the sense that she just goes along with whatever the hell Penelope is doing. Dramatic feint, Brooke will catch her. She motions for someone to help her monologue, Brooke just does it. She wants to be swept up in a tall, pretty hero lady's arms. Brooke does it. These four aren't even all the characters I have. I have so many, like the rest of these idiots' classmates. There's a reasonably peaceful witch, a unicorn girl who was actually in here for black magic, a demon, an alien, a cyborg, a portal-making kleptomaniac, and an energy-absorbing insomniac, and so many more, and I love them. If this does well, maybe I'll talk about them. I love these guys, and I love talking about them, so hey, maybe comment down below which one of these four are your favorites. Their designs might also change with time alongside the story, but hey, it is what it is. Thank you for listening to my rambles. I hope you all have a very nice day, and see you next time.